ITSM University is about sharing practical ITSM knowledge. The market is filled with ITIL trainers and training, but we believe that there are too few vendors that blend process and technology together to make training that gives you something that can be quickly leveraged in your implementation. Sometimes our training might be process oriented and many times may be technical, but we strive to give customers value for their money as well as to be a trusted advisor. Finally, our offerings will be related to the top 5 vendors in the market by market share, so that we can apply the materials to the largest audience possible. If you have specific questions as to how to apply the material to your ITSM environment, please contact us through our website. We'll be happy to answer your request in the order it was received, according to our SLAs. Now on to today's topic, which is something that has consumed a great deal of our time as consultants in the field, the taxonomy of ITSM for change and release management. When looking at the relationship between change management, release management, and configuration management, what we've seen is that oftentimes the process flow will go something like this. A change has been identified that is needed to be implemented to support a service. Once that change has been identified, we recognize that multiple processes are used to define the service design package. So once the change is input and it's authorized, then it would go to the release management process in order to get planned appropriately. Then the release building would occur and the testing would occur, and then the release would be finalized. Through this entire process, the release is going to be interacting with the configuration management process. At that point in time, we're going to go back over into the change management process, and the change would be then approved for deployment. It would go back to the release management process for the actual release deployment. The physical servers would then be updated appropriately. Then the release would be reviewed and closed out. And then it would go back over to the change management process for the post-implementation review and the change closer. Please be aware that you can also have it the opposite way, where the release management process actually has multiple changes in part of the release. So when you're looking at this diagram and we have release planning, release build and testing, and then the release deployment, realizing that even though we have an overarching change that's implementing this particular release, we're also going to have other changes that are taking place during the release cycle. We would have a change to move the release from a dev to a QA system or a test system, and then once again have a change that's actually going to do the deployment into your production environment. When looking at taxonomy of ITSM for change and release management, we had to come up with a series of assumptions so that we could actually recommend to you some good practices around the categorization for the 2 processes in question. On the next 4 slides, we're going to be presenting to you the assumptions that we made. One of the things we have to do when we're looking at change and release management and we're looking at categorization of changes and releases is keep in mind that oftentimes people find the change and release management process burdensome. They feel like this is adding additional workload to their already busy schedules. So one of the main concepts that we have to look at when we're looking at taxonomy of ITSM for change and release is to really reduce or minimize the element of process avoidance. So if you really look at it and you think IT people might want to avoid the incident management process, well, guess what? They really, really, really want to avoid the change management process, especially the IT hero guy, right? So these guys go out, they fix things on the fly, they're the hero to the organizations. Well, guess what? Oftentimes those people really don't want to document what they do. Now, we're not saying that the IT hero guys are bad, but we do want the IT operations people that care deeply about moving fast and giving high quality support and providing a repeatable process along the way. So one of the keys really is to get them on board, at the same time having a minimalistic approach to gathering the information that's needed from them. One last note before we move on to the next slide. Categorizations, we oftentimes say that they need to be simple for people to understand. Well, that is true in incident management, but we find the categorization schemes for change management is really focusing on a different audience. Oftentimes the categorization schemes for change management and release management may not be so simple. We want them to be as simple as possible, but look, this is a more complex process by its very nature, and we need to gather the information we need to make good management and business decisions. If you would like to see the rest of this presentation, please visit us at www.taxonomyofitsm.com. ITSMuniversity.net. Thank you.